In 2018, a horrific act of violence shook the small town of Santa Fe, Texas. Dimitrios Pagourtzis, a student at Santa Fe High School, opened fire on his classmates, killing 10 people and injuring many more. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the community, leaving behind a trail of grief and unanswered questions. Now, 4 years later, the community is once again grappling with the aftermath of the shooting, as the parents of the shooter, Dimitrios Pagourtzis, face a civil trial. The lawsuit, brought by the families of the victims, alleges that the parents bear some responsibility for the massacre. The families claim that the parents ignored warning signs and failed to prevent their son from accessing the firearms used in the attack. The trial has reopened old wounds and ignited a heated debate about parental accountability in cases of school shootings. At the heart of the case lies a devastating question. Could this tragedy have been prevented if the parents had taken different actions? The trial is being closely watched by legal experts and the public alike, as it could have far-reaching implications for how similar cases are handled in the future. The trial is expected to be emotionally charged and closely scrutinized. The families of the victims are seeking justice and a sense of closure, while the parents of the shooter maintain their innocence. As the trial unfolds, the community of Santa Fe will be forced to confront the painful legacy of the shooting and grapple with the complex questions surrounding gun violence, mental health, and parental responsibility. The trial in Texas draws striking parallels to another high-profile case involving the parents of a school shooter. In 2021, Ethan Crumbley, a 15-year-old student at Oxford High School in Michigan, opened fire on his classmates, killing 4 students and injuring 7 others. Like the case in Texas, the parents of Ethan Crumbley, James and Jennifer Crumbley, were also held accountable for their son's actions. They were charged with involuntary manslaughter, a rare move that sent shockwaves through the legal community. Prosecutors argued that the Crumbleys had ignored clear warning signs of their son's deteriorating mental state and had failed to secure the handgun he used in the shooting. The Crumbley case marked a significant shift in how the legal system addresses school shootings. Traditionally, the focus has been on holding the shooters accountable, often with life sentences or, in some states, the death penalty. However, the charges against the Crumbleys signaled a growing willingness to hold parents responsible for their role in preventing such tragedies. The outcome of the Crumbley case is still pending, but it has already had a ripple effect across the country. The case has sparked a national conversation about parental responsibility, gun safety, and the role of mental health in mass shootings. The trial in Texas is unfolding against the backdrop of this ongoing debate, adding another layer of complexity to an already sensitive issue. The central question at the heart of both the Texas and Michigan cases is one of responsibility. To what extent are parents responsible for the actions of their children, particularly when those actions involve criminal activity? It's a complex issue with no easy answers. On one hand, parents are often seen as the primary caregivers and role models for their children. They are entrusted with the responsibility of providing for their children's basic needs, including their safety and well-being. This includes taking steps to prevent their children from harming themselves or others. On the other hand, parents are not with their children 24/7. They cannot control their children's every thought or action, nor can they always predict how their children will behave, especially as they enter adolescence and young adulthood. The trials in Texas and Michigan are forcing the legal system to grapple with these difficult questions. They are raising the bar for what constitutes parental negligence and challenging the traditional boundaries of accountability in cases involving school shootings. The outcomes of these trials could have significant implications for how future cases are handled and could potentially lead to changes in legislation regarding parental responsibility and gun safety. Section 4. A landmark case. The civil trial against the parents of Dimitrios Pagourtzis is a landmark case, the first of its kind in Texas. Never before have the parents of a school shooter in the state been held financially liable for their child's actions. The lawsuit, filed by the families of the victims, alleges that the parents were negligent in their duty to supervise their son and to take reasonable measures to prevent him from accessing firearms. The families argue that the parents knew or should have known about their son's troubling behavior and his fascination with guns. The trial will hinge on whether the plaintiffs can prove that the parents' negligence directly contributed to the shooting. If the families are successful, it could open the door for similar lawsuits in other states and potentially lead to an increase in litigation against the parents of school shooters. The trial is being closely watched by gun control advocates who hope that a guilty verdict will send a strong message about the importance of responsible gun ownership and the need for stricter gun safety laws. However, opponents of gun control argue that the focus should be on mental health and that holding parents liable for their children's actions is unfair and ineffective. Section 5. The debate over accountability. The trials in Texas and Michigan have ignited a fierce debate about accountability in the aftermath of school shootings. On one side of the debate are those who believe that holding parents accountable is crucial to preventing future tragedies. They argue that parents have a moral and legal obligation to secure firearms, monitor their children's behavior, and seek help when necessary. They point to the fact that in many cases of school shootings, there were warning signs that were missed or ignored. They believe that holding parents accountable will encourage other parents to be more vigilant and proactive in protecting their children and their communities. On the other side of the debate are those who believe that holding parents accountable is misguided and ineffective. They argue that it is impossible for parents to monitor their children's every move, and that it is unfair to hold them responsible for actions they could not have foreseen or prevented. They also point out that mental health is often a major factor in school shootings, and that focusing on parental accountability detracts from the need for increased funding for mental health resources. They believe that the focus should be on addressing the root causes of gun violence, such as access to firearms, mental health issues, and a culture of violence. Section 6. The search for solutions. The trials in Texas and Michigan highlight the complex and multifaceted nature of gun violence in America. There is no single solution to this problem. However, these cases have sparked a national conversation about the role of parents, schools, and society as a whole in preventing future tragedies. It is clear that more needs to be done to address the issue of gun violence in America. This includes enacting stricter gun control laws, improving access to mental health care, and creating a culture of respect and nonviolence. It also includes fostering open communication between parents, children, educators, and law enforcement. The trials in Texas and Michigan are just the beginning of a long and difficult conversation. However, they represent an important step towards holding those responsible for gun violence accountable and creating a safer future for all Americans.